Report. The plot thickens on the scandal over who may have been using Biden's Autopen. Wow, wow, wow. This is my first time even viewing this article. I don't know what this article says, so we're gonna be discovering this together. I'm gonna be reading this with y'all. So we're gonna be discovering this together. I'm excited to find out who possibly could have been the one that's behind Biden, the puppet master, so to speak, the one that's actually the one that's was running Biden's administration. I'm excited to find out who this possibly could be, who this shadow government figure is. So we're gonna read this. We're gonna read this together. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this important information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Red State, and they report that as time goes on, we're getting some better looks at what was really going on in the Biden White House, and it ain't pretty. Turns out that while befuddled old Joe Biden was sitting in the Oval Office using all the mental energy at his command to keep his eyes from crossing, some so far anonymous staffer was using the old presidential Autopen to sign, well, everything in the president's name. And, you know, I did a report on that. I talked about this already. Now, on Friday, an exclusive New York Post piece broke, giving us a better idea of just how much was going on and how little then President Biden seemed to have known about it. It said a key aide to former President Joe Biden may have exceeded their authority by liberally using an Autopen to sign official documents, according to two former White House sources, as President Trump's aides set up far more restrictive rules governing the use of the mechanical device. A document obtained by the Post outlines the narrow set of circumstances in which Trump's signature can be affixed to documents following controversy this week, kicked off by a Heritage Foundation analysis on Biden's signatures on various records, including last-minute pardons. A small group of officials under both Biden and Trump have been delegated the power to get documents signed robotically, but 82-year-old Biden's perceived cognitive decline sparked debate about whether some aides may have assumed his wishes in his final stretch as commander-in-chief. It seems to have done a lot more than just spark debate. One Biden White House source told the Post they suspect that a key aide to the then president may have made unilateral determinations on what to auto sign. That is wrong. If this is the case, if this happens to be true, then a lot of stuff that Biden put into law, especially towards the end, need to be reevaluated, because that was not him. It was not him that gave permission to sign these things. But it goes on to say the Post is not publishing that staffer's name due to the lack of concrete evidence and refutations by other colleagues. So that's responsible of them. But the Biden aide, who did not respond to requests for comment, would frequently make mention of what the boss wanted, the source said, but compatriots would have, quote, no idea if it was true because the internal culture was to not ask questions. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's go through it in steps. But before we get to it, we remember when a reporter had asked Biden about him signing something. I can't remember what it was. I wish I could remember the specific thing it was. But remember when they asked him about a signature on why he signed a bill or something like that, and he didn't even know what they were talking about. He was like, he basically He basically was like, I don't remember signing anything like that. He didn't know what they were talking about. I wish I could remember what it was. If it pops in my mind, in my brain, I'll bring it up. But the article says, first, we have an anonymous source talking about an anonymous key aid, although the language implies that the key aid is known. The post is rightly not naming them because everything is still fuzzy. That's basically what I was just alluding to. You know, you don't want to put these people names out there unless you can verify that it's true. That part isn't suspicious. That's good journalism. What they have at this point is little more than rumor. But assuming the anonymous source is telling the truth, we have a key aide involved who may well have signed any number of executive actions and orders in the president's name without him knowing about it. Oh, and did we mention pardons? He or she could have used the Autopen to sign those. Yeah, that's what I'm alluding to as well. If there is any there, this is a scandal of epic proportions. We might have had a shadow president for how long? Months? Years? This person may well have been illegally signing documents using this tool without then President Biden's knowledge. This would be a constitutional crisis of the first water. First water, I guess they mean first order. With potential to negate scores, maybe hundreds of Biden's administration's actions, including possibly legislation signed into law. And I agree. That means we can't really verify if Biden, because Biden is still not in his right state of mind now to even tell us if he actually signed off on some of these documents or not. So everything that he pretty much would sign into law would probably be null and void. It goes on to say, and here's the really crazy bit from the New York Post report linked above. The Autopen housed in the Eisenhower Executive Office building next to the White House, hasn't been used only for waiting documents, such as pardons issued to former Rep. Liz Cheney and Dr. Anthony Fauci in the closing days of Biden's term. In fact, the pen has been used by White House staff to ink everything from kitchen utensils to sports memorabilia. Kitchen utensils, oh, for crying out loud. Could these people be any less serious? I agree. But the Trump administration is changing the rules on how an Autopen is used, according to an internal memo. It said an internal memo drafted Thursday by Trump Staff Secretary William Scharf, who for the past 2 months has publicly described and presented documents to Trump for his signature in the Oval Office, lays out the restrictive current use of the Autopens. Quote, we have gone significantly further than the need for express approval, both in this administration and in the first Trump administration, Scarf wrote. Our practice around Autopen usage is far more restrictive than most previous administrations. We do not use the Autopen for documents that exercise the powers of the presidency. So, for example, we do not use the Autopen for executive orders, presidential memoranda, decision memoranda, nominations, appointment orders, or commissions or bills to be signed, he wrote. That's very, very restrictive. Very restrictive. I'm super surprised about that. Well, that's a relief. Now, it's likely nothing will come from this. I agree. I'm pretty let down by this because I thought they were going to name the name. They didn't name the name. I mean, I understand why they didn't, but from the title of this article, they kind of led me on to believe they were gonna give us more information than that. But Joe Biden is, let's be honest, non corpus mentis, and right or wrong, these things rarely result in arrests or prosecutions. I agree. I don't think anything's gonna happen from this. We'll probably just have to write it off as another reason that last November the country was sparred 4 more years of this kind of crap. But as someone once said, this is a big effing deal. I agree with this article. I definitely agree with this article, except for the headline here. The plot thickens on the scandal over who may have been using Biden's Autopen. Well, I guess they didn't lead us on too much. I guess they didn't really say they were going to actually give us the name. But hopefully that person will come. We will find out who this person is, and they will be held accountable and have to answer some questions. But y'all, let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.